Over the last month, James Harden's reputation as a teammate reached its all-time low point, and the controversies surrounding his weight, failure to show up to practice, poor attitude in games, and publicly criticizing his teammates finally got him traded to the Brooklyn Nets. This got me thinking about players who are labeled locker room cancers and never managed to shake it off. Guys like Shawn Kemp, Latrell Sprewell, Ricky Davis, Bonzi Wells, Stephon Marbury. Obviously a lot of talent there, but they caused such a headache for coaches, teammates, and fan bases to the point where many teams decided we're better off without him. And to the average NBA fan and analyst, they're the guys who never figured it out. But what if they were simply unlucky and never landed in the right situation? On the contrary, we've also seen players who were able to transform from locker room cancers into valued assets, even leaders, and how winning by itself can change your reputation even if it's not entirely merited. What up everybody, my name is Stefan and this is Heat Check. Let's get into it. Starting off with the man you knew had to be on this list. Dennis Rodman, the man who shows that winning can erase pretty much any mistakes you make along the way. After coach Chuck Daly resigned as Pistons head coach, Dennis Rodman lost what, in his own words, was kind of a father figure and started engaging in some truly bizarre behavior from that point on. From missing preseason camp, falling asleep in his car with a loaded rifle, arguing with the Spurs front office, getting into brawls, being suspended, the list goes on and on. Rodman would find ways to manipulate the media and his teammates to maximum effect, so if you relied on his discipline and maturity, your team was in trouble. But if you already have a well-oiled machine, strong culture, and hierarchy, you had a chance to do something special with his talents. And that's what happened when the Bulls added him to a roster that had Jordan, Pippen, Kukoc, Harper, and of course Phil Jackson. In his first season with the Bulls, they went 72-10 and won the championship. But here's again that question. Did Rodman actually mature, or were the optics better because he was in a stable, winning environment where his wild behavior was just a minor distraction instead of a deal breaker? Next, DeShaun Stevenson was one of those players who was never a special talent but had an ego of a superstar and often caused problems with both teammates and opponents. Most of you will remember his beef with LeBron when he was on the Wizards, but less known are his off-court problems with the law, people getting shot at his home, sexual assault allegations, you can look it all up. But in 2011, under the leadership of Rick Carlisle, Dirk, and Jason Kidd, DeShaun became a reliable rotation player for the Mavs, making 56% of his threes in the finals and playing a solid role in winning the championship, fittingly against his old rival, LeBron. Not all guys have to win championships to turn their reputation around. Zach Randolph was drafted by the Blazers during the Jailblazers era, so he picked up some bad tendencies. He got into fights with teammates, got arrested for underage drinking and drugs, sexual assault accusations, and he also got saddled with a bad reputation on the court, like not trying on defense and outright refusing to play when he was on the Clippers. Then he was traded to the Grizzlies and turned a new page. Under coach Lionel Hollins, with teammates like Marc Gasol and Mike Conley, he became one of the most beloved teammates and a fan favorite. The longtime announcer for Zebo's high school team said this: "Zach is like a chameleon. If you and I are sitting in a room and Zach comes in for half an hour, he would fit in perfectly, but then he can walk right out of that door and get in a vehicle with two guys he has no business being around. He can fall right into that trap and fit in. Whoever he's with, he can assume that identity." Regardless, there's no denying how skilled and how smart Zebo was on the court during his playing days. And speaking of smart, one of my New Year's resolutions is to read and learn more. But as you can see, going through all of this takes quite a lot of time. Thankfully, Blinkist, the sponsor of today's video, makes things so much easier. Blinkist takes the most important things from non-fiction books and condenses them to around 15 minutes for you to read or listen to. I started with the legendary 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, but now I'm on Money, Master the Game by Tony Robbins, cause you know, your boy is trying to get to that James Harden contract. The first 100 people to go to Blinkist.com/heatcheck will get unlimited access for 1 week to try it out. You also get 25% off if you want the full membership. Thanks Blinkist for sponsoring this video. The most recent and probably most unfair example, Jimmy Butler was called a team cancer and bad teammate on both the Timberwolves and the 76ers before finally landing in a situation where his approach to the game fit perfectly. In Minnesota, he constantly yelled at his teammates, including co-stars Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins, culminating in calling them out as soft and other things.
Targeting Coach Tom Thibodeau, teammates like Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins, that you told GM Scott Layton, quote, "You effing need me." How would you describe what happened today?
A lot of it's true. A lot of it is true.
Then he was dealt to Philly, where again he clashed with management, coaching staff, and teammates, the full extent of which didn't become public until after he left. But last season, he managed to turn that public perception around under Pat Riley and Coach Spo. It's hard to know if this was because Jimmy changed anything about his approach with teammates, or he simply found the right environment that was receptive to his type of leadership and found success. But either way, in the public perception, he quote-unquote figured it out. Another recent example is Dwight Howard, who from afar always seemed like a nice, fun teammate to be around, but ever since the 2008 Olympics, there have been stories floating around that other superstars couldn't stand playing with him or even being around him for reasons that had nothing to do with his talents. He was just never serious about anything, tended to zone out in team meetings, and wasn't able to read social cues from his teammates on when his jokes were out of place and played out. But his cancerous behavior culminated in this bizarre interview. Stan Van Gundy confirmed reports that Dwight asked management to fire him. Then Dwight showed up cluelessly, acting like everything is normal and they're best friends, simultaneously managing to humiliate Van Gundy and make a fool of himself. In any case, over the next years he hopped around the league, from LA, Houston, Atlanta, Charlotte, Washington, each year looking less and less promising. He was reportedly extremely stubborn about playing more pick and roll over posting up. But it seems like once he landed back in LA on a team with mature leadership and a limited role to fill, it all fell into place, ending with a championship. A similar case can be made for Ron Artest. The 04-05 Pacers were one of the favorites to win the title, until this happened. Artest was suspended 86 games and the Pacers never recovered. On top of his technicals, ejections, and other suboptimal behavior, Artest has also admitted to drinking Hennessy at halftime during his time on the Bulls. Imagine playing with a guy like that. But again, his upside came into full focus under the strong leadership of Phil Jackson, Kobe Bryant, and Derek Fisher, resulting in a championship and this all-time great interview.
And he passed me the ball. He never passed me the ball. And he passed me the ball. Kobe passed me the ball. And I shot a three. And Phil didn't want me to shoot the three. I heard him. Because he's the Zen master, so he can speak to you. And he don't need a microphone. You can hear him in your head. Ron, don't shoot, don't shoot. I said, whatever. Boom, three. Woo.
Rajon Rondo is one of those examples where I believe there was genuine growth on his part. When he was in Boston, he was in a very stable, healthy team culture, but still, there were stories that he was overly sensitive during film sessions, while at the same time cussing teammates out for their mistakes and storming off team meetings. And things didn't improve on the Mavericks either, where he was sent home in the middle of the playoffs when he literally gave up on his team after arguments with Coach Carlisle. However, on the Lakers in 2020, Rondo was instrumental in empowering the young players on the roster, according to a story relayed by Bill Simmons. Rondo even told off LeBron for being overly harsh towards guys like Kuzma and Caruso that messed with their confidence, a criticism that LeBron took to heart and worked to improve on as well. When it comes to these players, it's not easy to draw a line between their own personal maturation as opposed to a more positive environment molding them into better players. Maybe trying to find a hard line between the two is to miss the point. Both factors are necessary. We'll see where the James Harden story goes from here, but keep in mind when you hear somebody being called a locker room cancer, maybe they just haven't landed in the right situation yet. That's it for now. Subscribe and talk to you in the next one. Peace out.